All right, thanks for joining us for 5 News. I'm meteorologist Stephen Elmore. Wanted to hop on our live streaming platforms. We're hopping on 5 News Plus. We're hopping on our Facebook Live platforms. We're also on YouTube as well. Not for the immediate threat of severe weather when it comes to any severe thunderstorm warnings or definitely any rotation. We're hopping on here because the amount of rainfall, especially that we've picked up across the river valley over the past couple hours, about 2 hours, a little bit more for some others, has been upgraded to that considerable threat for some when it comes to that flash flooding, especially in parts of the river valley, parts of Sequoia, parts of LaFleur, Sebastian, Crawford County, all listed underneath some of those flood warnings. But one warning specifically has been upgraded to another type of flash flooding and flash flood warning. And what I mean by that is the tag on it. And sometimes you hear us say that when it comes to severe thunderstorm warning. Sometimes it has a tag of tornado possible, right? That's not the case for right now. But that tag that they added is that the flash flood threat is now being upgraded to considerable. What does that mean? Well, across, especially in Sequoia County, parts of LaFleur, a little bit of Sebastian as well, we've probably had anywhere between 4, let's say up to 7 inches of rainfall over the past, let's say, hour or two, probably a little bit more for some. Got another about an inch probably of rainfall still left to go. So we're looking at least at the very least, some minor flooding, but really closing towards that major flooding for some areas in eastern Oklahoma and northwest eastern Oklahoma and parts of the river valley as well. So let's take a closer look into radar here. We start with northwest Arkansas just to show you some scattered showers, some heavy rainfall in parts of Madison County, parts of Carroll County, right on that county line. Some heavier showers coming down in Bentonville in Washington County as well. Right now, though, none of those flash flood warnings. Where you find those flash flood warnings is directly going to be across the river valley. Our first one that we had was in Sequoia County, just southern Adair County into LaFleur County, and that is that flash flood warning that has since been upgraded to that considerable threat when it comes to the potential damage. This is where, and we'll take a look at it here in just a second, the estimates of how much rainfall has come down. That's where we could have seen anywhere between 4 up to 7 inches of rainfall. I take a closer look specifically into the Sallisaw area, where we still have some heavy rainfall coming down between Brushy and Brent, mainly now focusing east of Sallisaw. And good news is for our folks there in Sallisaw, Sequoia County, this is going to be moving off towards the east, and there's not a lot of activity left off towards the west. So once we get this band that stretches from Evening Shade, Brushy, Sallisaw, Brent, down to Muldrow, not much rainfall should be left further out towards the west. So hopefully we could start to decrease some of that flooding that's ongoing right now. I tell you what, one of our newest reporters, 5 News reporter Bo Russell, is actually on his way to Sequoia County right now. It's not only Sequoia County, but we've also heard reports of some flooding going on in Franklin County as well. And obviously, we've taken a look at some of the cameras around the Fort Smith area as well, and seeing some minor flooding right now, but of course we have that flash flood warning in effect as well. So I wanted to start off with Sequoia County. I'll show you those estimates of how much rainfall has come down here in just a moment. Let's cover those additional flash flood warnings that we have. Northern LaFleur County into southern Sequoia County is also included just north of Poto. So Poto, as of right now, you're not included in that flash flood warning. Mansfield, Greenwood, Lavaca, you are included into additional flash flood warning. Dayton, Washburn, Rock Island, Pecola as well. The rainfall rate right now in those areas that I just mentioned, along Highway 71, 96, not intense as in heavy rainfall right now, but we could be seeing some heavier rainfall just off towards our west. More than likely, that heavy rainfall is going to be moving into the south side of Fort Smith, Barling, Lavaca, Kibler, Van Buren area over the next, let's say, the next hour or so. So if you live in one of those flood-prone areas, we could be seeing some of that flooding ongoing, let's say, in the next hour or two. As more heavy rainfall is working into that county line that's shared with Crawford and Sebastian County. That covers our warnings that we have right now. And again, the threat for severe weather when it comes to damaging winds or hail or anything like that, not the case right now. The reason we're hopping on our live streaming platforms is because of the immediate threat of some flooding. Now, here's what I want to show you. This is a look over the past 12 hours of how much rainfall has come down across the area. You see two things that stand out to me, at least. Delaware County and western Benton County, to start off with, has picked up right around 3, maybe 4 inches of rainfall based off of the estimates, but currently none of those flash flood warnings as of right now. What that tells me is that we haven't had a lot of rainfall so far in July, and so hopefully that water is able to subside very quickly if we have picked up that much rainfall. Take a closer look at this, gives you a rough estimate. They're just west of Gentry, north of Siloam Springs, along Highway 43. Estimates are right around 3 up to 4 inches of rainfall. So more than likely some minor flooding going on across that county line shared with Delaware and Benton County right now. Siloam Springs area, Decatur, Gentry, you could be seeing some of that flooding ongoing right now. We move a little bit further south in between Prairie Grove and Westville, just north of Highway 62, about 1.5 inches of rainfall in Washington County. But really, this is why we're hopping on these live streaming platforms, is to show you the amount of rainfall that has come down, at least estimates in Sequoyah County. Just north of Salisaw, around 5 inches of rainfall potentially has come down in the past couple hours or so. Brent, Muldrow, Roland, McKee, these are all those areas that we're starting to hear reports, nothing confirmed as of right now. That's why we're sending Bo down there, is some flooding ongoing right now. I'll tell you what, I've seen some reports of maybe some flooding going on across Highway 59, is what I've seen the most of right now, but it was enough of those reports, and unfortunately it's one of those areas that we don't have a lot of camera access to when it comes to our cameras here, or when it comes to using the cameras from the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. So we can't get a visual, so that's why we rely on you guys sending in those reports, what's going on there right now. But we're going to have that update from Bo more than likely, hopefully, at our 5 News at noon, if not a little bit later on into the day. So that includes the Cherokee Casino there in Salisaw, Blackjack. Really, where the heaviest rainfall has come down is along Highway 40. All right, Interstate 40, between running through Salisaw, and then you move south to Brent. That kind of area is where the most rainfall has come down and where the concern for flooding is going to be. That's why we have that upgraded threat, different from the usual flash flood warnings that we get, where it's upgraded to that considerable threat for damage. 4 up to 7 inches of rainfall, that's definitely where you can start to get some damage to some property. That's where you can definitely see flooded roadways. That's where you can definitely start to see, unfortunately, sometimes in those low-lying areas, that water has nowhere else to go other but into some property. So hopefully, you know, we're kind of in right now a stage during this event where we're in the now mode of what's happening right now, and so hopefully we get those images later of what's going on, and really the hope is that the flooding is not that bad. I fear that it may be growing, though, just with the amount of rainfall that we've had. Move a little bit further towards the southeast, just north of Bacola, south of Arcoma. That's where we've seen along that Sebastian County line anywhere between 2 up to 3 inches of rainfall. So definitely some heavier rainfall in that area. Just outside of Worcester, south of Poteau, north of Heavener, around 2 up to 3 inches of rainfall there in central Lafleur County. And then also we've received some reports from the emergency manager there in Franklin County, that there is some flooding going on just towards the southwest of Ozark as well. That matches up with our reports that we have here on our computers with the estimates of about 2 up to 3 inches of rainfall so far. And I take it back to live radar just to show you that we're probably still dealing with some heavy rainfall in those areas. Again, the hope is we're going to work west to east here, and Sequoyah County, who's probably seen the most of that rainfall, hopefully is done here in a little bit. I tell you what, we still have some very heavy rainfall right now, and it's not moving very fast. That band, again, like we mentioned, between Salisaw and Brent up to Evening Shade, slowly slowly moving, but still producing some very heavy rainfall. That's why it's included in the text with the National Weather Service that we could see an additional 1 to 2 inches of rainfall for that flash flood warning that was upgraded to that considerable threat. Again, that's for southern Adair County, really majority of Sequoyah County, into northern Leflore County as well. Flash flood warnings continue, though, for northern Leflore into Sebastian County and Crawford County. That includes Alma, that includes Fort Smith, that includes Greenwood, that includes Mansfield. You may have not picked up the amount of rainfall to cause the flooding that we're more than likely seeing right now in Sequoyah County, but that rainfall, some heavy rainfall, is moving from the west out of eastern Oklahoma into the river valley. And what I'm focusing on here is kind of that band just north of Spiro, right along the river, really, in between Pecola and Muldrow, just south side of Fort Smith. That's where that heaviest band is going to be right now. And in northwest Arkansas, before we wrap things up here, some heavier rainfall coming down right now, especially there in northern Adair County, southern Delaware County, and western Benton County as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see additional flash flood warnings coming out for that, just because of the sheer amount of rainfall that's been picked up in eastern Oklahoma so far this morning. If there's any more updates that we have for you, I know I'm getting texts right now from our reporters in the station right now that are working on getting that video, working on reaching out to some of those property owners. I'm just looking at some offhand stuff right now that I just got a text from our morning anchor, Joe Ellison, and she sent me some video from Salisaw, and we will definitely show you this later at our 5 News at noon. But I tell you what, folks, especially if you're there in Salisaw, I feel for you right now, but it looks like this flooding in some areas is reaching up to that considerable threshold when it comes to some flooding. I'm seeing debris in front yards. I'm seeing some mattresses in some front yards. So what to do in these situations when it comes to this flooding event, when we see that threat upgraded to that considerable threat, especially in Sequoyah County, northern Leflore County, and along that state line with Arkansas. You want to make sure you want to try to get to some higher elevation is the #1 key. Obviously, all of this water runoff is going to go to the lowest place possible. So if you're in one of those neighborhoods that tends to flood because you're in lower elevation, you want to try to get to some higher elevation. But here's the catch for that. We're already seeing that flooding ongoing right now. And the last thing I want you to do, and you hear us say it all the time, and maybe you don't hear us all the time when we say it because we still see these videos that come out afterwards, but the most important phrase during these flooding events is to turn around and don't drown. The most incidents that we see every year when it comes to injuries or sometimes even deaths is folks who are getting in their vehicles saying, I can drive through that flooded water, and they can't, and they get swept away, and then that's when accidents happen. That's when we have to pull those emergency crews away from other people to help those who are getting caught in their vehicles. So if your roadway's already flooded, you want to try to get to that higher elevation, but please do not try to drive through that flooded water. So let's take a wider look real quick, and then we'll wrap things up here. Again, some very heavy rainfall coming down really along eastern Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas, parts of the river valley, some moderate rainfall right now, but we could see some heavier spots as well. Areas of concern going to be Adair County, southern Delaware County, Sequoyah County, and northern Leflore County right now, Fort Smith area. I'm looking at some cameras offhand here right now. Definitely see some flooding out there right now, and we'll be following those updates with emergency crews there in the Fort Smith area if we start to see some of that major flooding going on right now. So we're going to keep working on this. Our crews are out across the area trying to get you more information, and we'll bring you those updates at your 5 News at noon.